Is this working? I don't know. Looks like I have TikTok. Welcome everyone on TikTok. Looks like I do not have Instagram. Let me see what I can figure out. That's the best I could do for Instagram. We'll just see how it works out. All right. Welcome, everybody. How are you? TikTok, if you could give me a thumbs up, let me know that you can hear me and see me all right. That would be great. Instagram, still nothing. Okay. I was seeing problems on that before. So I don't know. We may not have it. If that's how that's going to go, then that's how that's going to go. But I do have, all right, looks good. TikTok. Welcome everyone on Facebook and YouTube. If you guys could also give me a thumbs up, let me know that you can hear me and see me all right. That would be super helpful. Okay, I already see Vanessa says good evening. Ivy and Christina can see and hear you. All right, Brittany, Chicken Mama Yolanda looks good. All right, Miss Subi. Excellent. Good to see everybody. We're going to give this a second to let a few people tune in before we get started. I'm going to warn you now, the cats are going bonkers. They're super bored and super cooped up. We are here in New York. It's cold. They're not outside playing like they normally are. They haven't been able to hunt and abuse anyone in weeks. So they're pretty frustrated. All right. So I'm hoping they don't tip over the cameras. In the event that they do, bear with me. I'm just going to stick them back up. We're going to work with it. All right. A couple quick announcements while we let people tune in. What do we have coming up? Jill, my beautiful producer, is going to be popping up some announcements. And if you guys can't see them on your screen, you may want to switch over to YouTube at Ask Ivy. All right, that's where you could see everything. So first thing is that Christina Del Rey and I are running a seasonal sale. So courses are on sale 10% off now through New Year's. If you want to take advantage of that, that's going to be Reiki, astrology, tarot, the reverendship ordination, the psychic mediumship course. Okay, so this is a huge deal. Christina, do you want to talk a little bit about tarot and astrology and what they can expect with that?
Sure. So the tarot course, kind of go at your own pace, but each week we have different activities. I'll be teaching the intuitive method along with the the regular method. So you will have both. And by the time you're done with this course, you can, you can go out and earn money, immediately. So, and we also have like a check-in system where, I will listen to your tarot read, 10-minute tarot read, 15-minute tarot read, and just, give you some feedback so you can actually get live feedback. You'll be practicing with, your friends, people that just to get better at it. And the visuals and notes that I give, you get to keep forever. So, and then once you are done, if you get certified, then you will be able to work the Ivy League psychic fairs as well. For astrology, it is really a learning course where I make sure that you understand the big three of any chart, which is your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. And I really give you cheat sheets and notes on everything. I use real life examples. And you should be, after that course, you should be able to go to, astrology software that's free online, put somebody's chart in and then, kind of get some basic information about them. So I'm excited for our sale. I think that, people really are getting more interested in astrology now because it's become way more mainstream.
Yeah, 100%. We see something like 67% of the younger generation has abandoned their parents' religion for astrology, psychic mediumship, tarot. Okay, so we see this movement and toward the truth, and it's absolutely revolutionary, very exciting. So 10% off all of the courses. Again, that's my psychic mediumship course, that's reverendship ordination, that's Reiki levels 1, 2, as well as masters. That is Christina's The Big Three astrology course and her intuitive tarot course. And just a reminder, anytime you're certified in anything through the Ivy League Psychic Academy, you are automatically up for hire at Ivy's Healing Call Center, open 7 days a week. Ivy League psychic fairs, and a bunch of other events that we always have going on. Okay, so lifelong work opportunities. What else do we have coming up? We have reverendship ordination and training. So if you've been debating on becoming a reverend, you can do that now through Roots Revival Interfaith. You can get ordained here with us and also get trained in how to actually perform ceremonies like weddings, baptisms, funerals. It is now available on video download. We also have coming up, if you're interested in spiritual life coaching, I'm going to be opening up a training where you can, in 6 weeks, that's going to go from March 21st to April 25th. So it's 1 day a week. And what I'm going to be doing here is training you through Roots Revival Interfaith, how to do spiritual life coaching. This is in particular like really good for people who feel like giving readings is a bit too much for you for some reason. And that like energy work or Reiki, just is not enough. This is a great middle balance. So check it out. Registration is now open. Do we have anything else coming up? Okay. Oh, fun. Christina, our annual show. How could I forget about this? Okay. If you're curious about what's coming up for you in 2024, Christina and I have our annual What to Expect show coming up, where she breaks down each zodiac sign astrologically for the year. And then I come at it from a psychic mediumship perspective. We are also, for the first time ever, we've probably been doing the show like, I don't know, maybe 10 years, right? Something ballpark of that. We've never taken questions from you guys where you can give a small donation and we'll actually answer your questions. So this is a big deal. This is new. This is going to be on December 28th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, back here on all of these platforms. So join us for that, What to Expect in 2024. Do we have anything else coming up, Jill? Okay, if you guys need a holiday gift idea, you can see here on YouTube at Ask Ivy under the screen where you can book or get a gift certificate with Christina Del Rey. Same thing for me. Great holiday gift idea. Or to treat your own self. I'm sure you're deserving of it. We're going to be talking a lot about self-love tonight with our topic even. So, treat yourself to something. For me, you can go on to IvyRiveraPsychicMedium.com for any of the things that I just mentioned, including the classes. All right. Are we done with announcements? Do we want to go ahead and get into, okay. So welcome everyone. Instagram, not sure if it's working. TikTok, how's everybody doing? Good to see you here. And then we have Facebook and YouTube. So welcome everyone. This is Roots Revival Interfaith. Here comes the cat. I am your pastor, Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino airwalk, and I am here tonight with Reverend Christina Del Rey, our astrologer. How are you, Christina?
Awesome.
Okay, beautiful. And Jill, our beautiful producer, is going to be taking your questions and comments throughout tonight's sermon. So we are an interactive church. We believe in the 3 truths. That is numerology, astrology, and intuitive intelligence. We focus on decolonizing spirituality and normalizing intuition to show you your true path in life, to help you to heal and eventually be able to go out into the world with integrity to assist others. So today, we are going to be taking your questions like always. So feel free to drop them on whatever platform you're on. But today, I also want to focus a little bit more on comments. We don't typically look too much at comments when we're doing a church service, but I feel like today's topic really should involve more of that. So please do drop a comment about how this topic is affecting you or what your thought is on it, anything you perceive going on in the world and relationships around you. I definitely want to hear from you today more than ever. So we're going to also, before I get started here, I want to encourage you guys to stop, give this video a thumbs up. Okay. Also, subscribe if you're interested in hearing more on these types of topics. If you're here on my YouTube channel at Ask Ivy, you can also hit the join button to become a member. Donations are appreciated, and anything you put in the comment section helps us out in the algorithm. So today's sermon topic is on unconditional love versus transactional love. And I want to break that down even a little bit further in the title: unconditional, aka childhood love, versus transactional, aka adulthood love. Accepting reality. So when I was shown to, focus on this topic, to create a sermon out of this, and to go out onto my social media platforms and in conversations that I was having with people in, more real time, I guess, I really thought that this is a topic people would want to investigate. And I didn't think it would upset people so much. I didn't think it was going to turn into such a hot button topic and trigger for people, but immediately it did. And I think the reason I did not fully understand what I was getting into with this topic is because I grew up without unconditional love. So for me, never having it, I simply adapted to finding other ways and resources to get my needs met. However, it would appear that the majority of people out there absolutely received in their childhood, to some extent, unconditional love, and have now in adulthood decided that anything less than that is a major trigger point. So I am learning my lesson on this topic, and I'm looking forward, to diving into it today, because regardless, it should be more discussed. It also tells me a lot when I bring up a topic that I think about all the time and that I think is normal, and everyone ponders this and meditates on this regularly in their relationships. When I find that most people aren't, and that it is such a trigger, it also tells me that one of the reasons we may not be discussing this topic enough, including in the psychological field, okay, so in psychiatry, I don't think it's being discussed enough either. It tells me that it's being weaponized, and that's exactly what I found. So when I went out and I started creating discussion, or I would comment on a video about unconditional love, I was getting attacked left, right, center. And people were so upset, or people were really passionate about how accurate what I had to say was, how truthful that is, how we never look at that. And I said, okay, here we have a huge unchecked weapon being used against each other. And, I think that's going to be one of the things we take away today, is how to stop doing that, and how to be more free with the love that we give while setting healthy boundaries. So what we're looking at here is how expected unconditional, aka childhood love, is entitlement. In adulthood, where transactional love is typically all that exists. And I'm going to be talking about this from 3 different angles. Number 1, those of us who choose to repeatedly get involved in relationship dynamics, family, friends, lovers, whatever, where we are overgiving, we are overreaching, we are in a state of martyrdom or victimhood. We keep giving, giving, giving unconditionally, and we don't get back in return. Therefore, we are dissatisfied. I want to talk about why that's happening, why you're doing that, and how it's very possible you're dissatisfied in a lot of your relationships because you're not examining this specific area. Okay. Unconditional versus transactional love. I also want to talk about number 2, the takers, the people out there who do feel entitled to get praise and attention, affection, your labor, energy from everybody and everything all the time without ever earning any of it, without ever reciprocating and giving back. And category number 3, I want to look at why so many of us are dissatisfied, lonely, even having a sense of despair in regards to our relationships, because we really have never accepted the reality that when we left mom's side as a child, dad's side, or as we get older and maybe family members start to pass away or we become divided, that unconditional love disappears, it dissipates, and it never returns. And we have a sense of comparison here where it never matches, right? It never equates. It's never that good. And so the loss is really like ongoing, and it's like being trapped in a sense of grieving permanently. So I'm going to be incorporating, okay, that as well. So tons to talk about. Again, if you guys are tuning in a little bit late, please give this video a thumbs up. Donations are appreciated. Drop a comment in the comment section to help us out in the algorithm. Subscribe. And we are an interactive church. So at the end of today's sermon, we're going to be taking all of your questions. Go ahead and start posting them now, as well as your prayer and healing requests. Christina and I do pray and manifest over those in the upcoming weeks. And this sermon is going to be comment heavy. So drop any type of comment. We're going to be popping those up as we go along. All right. So what is the definition of unconditional love? This irritates me, right? Straight out of the gate, as I started going into Google and doing more research and looking at what psychology is saying about this topic today, I was immediately annoyed and found what I suspected I was going to find. So the definition, if you Google something like unconditional love, it sugarcoats it into saying unconditional love in a relationship means that we can be our true selves without the other person, without fearing that the other person will abandon us should we ever say something that they don't like. And I thought, what a joke. Okay, because that is simply not how most of us, especially here in America, okay, perceive unconditional love. What I find is that people feel unconditional love allows them to be rude and still receive the benefits of our company. It allows them to be distant, detached, ungiving, unkind. It allows people to believe that they can take advantage of what we offer, but never give. It allows people to be lazy and not focus on their own growth, development. If they need therapy, they don't have to do that. They think they should get loved regardless. You got a lot of people who say, well, I'm just speaking my mind. I just speak the truth. It's not the truth. And if that's your mind, I would hide that and be embarrassed. So we have a certain level of outspokenness that gets fed, okay, by a lot of other people who don't want to work on social skills, rudimentary social skills. There's also, a lot of behaviors in general that don't incorporate others. It doesn't take, these behaviors don't take other people into consideration. Even right down to a lot of the hobbies, that people have. It's just very self-centered. It's very childlike. It's very self-absorbed. And I'm all for, people being all about what they love, or even, buying up all the toys from childhood, the Lego sets and whatnot, because you're sort of reliving your childhood. But we may want to think more in terms of community, and even with our hobbies, and open up more, to involving others, or being able to become more articulate, thinking of what other people are interested in. I think a lot of people also feel they deserve unconditional love and attention and friendships and investments, even when they don't have any sense of audience awareness. So they talk endlessly about, a good example is, they're constantly making inappropriate jokes, whether it's punching down or trying to be a comedian, interrupting. I'm a funny guy. I'm the funny guy. Or we've got people who talk endlessly about things like bands. I love music passionately. Okay. But I don't care about every band member. I don't want to hear about every concert they ever played, or what your thoughts are on, this or that or the other. I mean, you need to have some audience awareness. And I think that we need to polish up our skills by getting into more hobbies, that involve group dynamics. So we see a lacking there. I think what's interesting here too is that when people, okay, and this is just based on research and studies, when people receive unconditional love, it builds their confidence, it reduces their stress, and it strengthens their immune system. Interesting. What happens to people who don't receive unconditional love? Immune deficiencies, okay, increased stress levels, low self-esteem. So we're going to break down how this may be affecting you positively or negatively, and what we can do about it. So, I noticed that, and we have a comment here coming in from Jill Marie, a person who had unconditional love as a child shows up in adult relationships very different than those of us that haven't. So I want to remark on that. Christina, feel free to jump in if you have anything to say as we go through all of this. So this is the thing. When I looked at the research about adults who received unconditional love in childhood versus those who do not, I saw a lot of research that said those who received will grow up to be, more high functioning, more stable adults who get involved in healthier relationship dynamics. The thing is, I have not found that to be true in real life. So I kind of wonder where these studies are coming from, because I have found through my clients, my students, my own experience, my friendships, that those of us who received or did not receive unconditional love are still falling in deficit for receiving. There are some of us who are being really taken advantage of. I would say especially those people who received unconditional love in your childhood. Maybe some of it is cultural, maybe some of it is generational. Okay. We see boomers, for example, far more likely to give unconditionally to like a spouse or children who just take advantage of that. And Gen Z, for example, saying, I don't think so. Not today, not ever. Okay. Never going to happen. So there are some other factors we need to look at here. But in between, I feel like the rest of us are really starting to notice that some of us give love unconditionally, mostly women, and others take, mostly men. Now, behind all of this is the patriarchy. And with the patriarchy still being upheld, okay, it is really being upheld, in essence, by those of us who received unconditional love as a child. Now, granted, research shows the polar opposite of this. Research says, no, those people are in healthy relationships. I beg to differ. That's not what my client base looks like. I do love readings all week long, every single day. And the people who are most dissatisfied, and recent research shows that is not the case. So I just want to comment on this. For those of you who did not receive unconditional love as a child, I know how painful that can be. To reach adulthood and say, wow, I missed my door of opportunity. If we only receive unconditional love as a child from our parents, mostly our mothers, and that ship has sailed, and the rest of my adult life is going to be about transactional love. I have to earn it. I have to prove that I'm worthy, including in marriage. I would say, especially in marriage. These marriages are based on transactional love. But in all cases, you could feel such a sense of despair and grief that you never will get it a day in your life. And I would say, here's the upside, brothers and sisters, okay? Here's the upside. Even if that is the case, you're faring just as well in adulthood as those who did receive it, if not better. Because those of us who didn't receive it, we have higher expectations on ourselves. We know when we enter into a relationship, we've got to bring something to the table. And we can spot a moocher faster than those who have been trained and programmed to give, and overlook when they're not receiving. We catch that stuff real quick. It upsets our nervous system, and we tend to have better boundaries in place. So I would disagree with a lot of the research out there. Again, I'm not shocked to see it. Christina, were you going to say something about this?
Sorry, I was making notes. So I would consider myself a person who had unconditional love as a child from my mother and my grandparents. So I would definitely agree. I think I'm too trusting. But I also think it gave me something to fall back on, whereas somebody, and I have tons of students who grow up without unconditional love. So I see the ramifications like real time. And it's more of like, I don't know, they don't have that cushion of stability. They're just always in the air about everything. And sometimes, especially with girls, I see them start to like hustle at the end of high school. Like they have to figure it out, and they might not be the best at school or whatever, but they've got to figure out what they're going to do. And they are very suspicious of others and rely on their instincts more. Whereas I don't think I was doing that at all. I think that is sort of a life lesson for me to, rely on the subtleties and all that stuff. Whereas like, I feel like those kids are already kind of in tune to that. And that, and I feel like kids should have stability. They should have at least one person who has unconditional love for them. They really should. But sometimes they don't. And, the closest that comes to is like a teacher or something. So, yeah, so it just gets, and the bad side, because everything's got a positive and negative. So the bad side of unconditional love is that, you get comfortable and possibly abusive because of the comfort, because this person's going to love me no matter what I do. So I'll just do whatever I want. I'll treat you like crap. And you're still gonna love me anyway, so what's the difference? So I think that like there has to be some kind of like balance in unconditional love, but also what you're doing in life has to bring something to the table. Even as a child, you have to realize you're contributing to this relationship as you grow older. So very interesting.
Very much so. And I think that, a lot of people who are suffering because they can't accept a reality that love in adulthood is transactional. They will have children. They'll pop out a whole bunch of kids thinking these children will give me unconditional love. That is also transactional. You, as the parent, are to give to your child. There is no guarantee you're getting anything back in return. So don't misconstrue what's going on there. And I love how you said that you see as a teacher a lot of students who don't receive, unconditional love, but especially the girls. Upon graduation and stuff, they are really driven. They are really hustling, and they are extremely intuitive, very paranoid, but very intuitive. Well, we talk a lot here at Roots about trauma and intuition, and they really do go hand in hand. And this is yet another area, where we see that. So is it a strength? It can be, if you think of it that way. But no one escapes, I have found, in adulthood, trying to reach a place of unconditional love and feeling defeated in that, and not knowing why. Again, except for those of us who seem to never have received it, and we just simply learned how to adapt to that. So interesting aspect here. Okay, so I do want to move on just to another little section of today's sermon, and then Yolanda has a comment here, so we're going to get on to that. So, when I went ahead and started posting on social media, and when I found videos where people were posting about unconditional love, and I got in the comment section, and again, I was read the riot act. People came in from every angle. People were either passionately agreeing with me and saying, yes, amen, speak out, this is the truth. Or they were saying, oh my God, that's so sad. Don't say that. That's not true. This can't be. And then attacking me on a personal level. People got crazy. They got really, really weird about it. And this is where I started to look a little deeper at who's saying what. Wait a minute. What, it's almost like teams were forming on this topic. And here's what I found. It is mostly men who complain about not receiving unconditional love. All the videos about not receiving any unconditional love were men talking about how, for example, men only receive flowers on their grave. And I said, well, you receive everything else. So you could also buy your own self flowers or start asking for flowers more. I mean, we're literally just talking about an object, right? In every other area, research shows overwhelmingly that men receive everything, okay, excessively, and often without any repayment whatsoever, without any reciprocity. We also had men talking about how women, dogs, and children are the only creatures on the face of the earth to receive unconditional love throughout their entire lives, whereas men receive none. And I said, well, that's ridiculous, because first of all, dogs are known for being man's best friend. Dogs are known for loyalty and giving unconditional love. That's the most ridiculous argument I've ever heard. And children are children. Children are supposed to receive unconditional love. And I assure you, and I've researched to back it, that women do not receive unconditional love. However, I will give men a little leeway on this one. Where they are perceiving that women receive unconditional love is probably with each other, because we are very careful with one another. I am very careful with my girlfriends. True, Christina? You are very careful with me. I am here for you. You are here for me. But would we really say that's unconditional? No, I would even say that is transactional, and I'm okay with that, right?
I think some things are, I think some relationships are transactional, but once you get deeper, I don't know. I mean, I guess unconditional love could be taken away at any point if somebody, you know what I mean? Like if you're no longer respecting the other person.
Or if you stop giving to the other person.
Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe maybe it's more of like, it would be like a backup. You know what I mean? Like kind of pulling yourself out of the situation. But yeah, like nobody would sit there and take abuse if you were in the right mindset. Do you know what I mean?
Correct. So, it maybe trust is broken. Yeah, maybe it can be removed. But I would say that men may be looking at women's relationships with each other and saying, that's unconditional. That's not fair. I want that. I deserve that. And we have the research to back it. But they didn't earn it. That's something that us girls do with each other. Okay.
Well, I think he thought he was, like the video they were talking about. I think that he thought he was earning it because he's bringing something to the table. He's bringing, you know, whatever, his job or his house or whatever like that. But just because you bring something to the table doesn't mean you just leave it.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is
especially when it's an object or it's financial. Yeah, that's not enough.
And I think that stems from patriarchy, don't you? Because it's like, that was the role of the man to bring in the, you know, the house or the, you know, the job or whatever. And now that times are changing, like, it's like they don't know what to do. They don't know their role anymore. And they're really not interested in learning a new one. So.
Yeah, 100%. And that is the issue, is that women, no, I mean, you know, mind you, we're talking mostly like heterosexual, you know, romantic relationships. However, we are seeing this in friendships. We're seeing this more in work dynamics and relationships. We're seeing this especially with women, but in their relationship to themselves, motherhood, family dynamics in general. So we are seeing an increase of awareness and a resistance to just excessively give without any measurement whatsoever about what's coming in. And yes, men examining more and more, okay, well, if I'm bringing finances to the table or I'm gracing you with my presence, that ought to be enough. And yeah, women have said, no, not even close to being enough. Okay. And this is why, and I'm going to break it down right here. But I did want to see, what was the comment? Jill, if you could pop that back up. Okay, so Yolanda says, do you think that some get unconditional love and codependency mixed up? Yes. And, you know, in doing research about this, the word codependency came up always, right? Lateral to unconditional love. So I would say that also a lot of the research showed people who don't receive unconditional love as a child are more prone to codependency. But again, I kind of want to argue that based on what I see every day, right? In my practice, I would say everyone who is not examining transactional love appropriately is tied up in some level of codependency across the board. It doesn't seem to matter. But yes, I understand what you're saying. Christina, did you want to comment on this?
Just that codependency is entitlement too. You know?
Good point. Codependency is entitlement. Yes, it's a manipulative form of, you know, just getting what you want. 100%. Okay, good point. So yeah, let's look at what's going on with women versus men. Okay, and we're going to talk about a couple different areas. Then I'm going to switch this over to you, Christina. So what do we see? Women are realizing more and more through studies and research, just being more deliberately aware and conscientious about what we're giving and getting involved in, that we have weakened immune systems, immunodeficiency disease, okay, when we are involved in heterosexual relationships with men. Okay, Google it. Look at what pops up there. Now, again, what happens when you don't receive unconditional love? I'm not saying this is the only cause of it. I'm saying I think this is a big underlying factor. The fact that women aren't being loved in return. Okay, they're not getting love that they need. It can break down your immune system. We also see women suffering from inflammation and, you know, diseases connected to that. Cancer, huge problem, especially with married women having cancer early on in life. Okay, dying early, dying well before their male counterparts. So we see that there are also extreme stress levels among women, low confidence, and, you know, mental health crises. So I would say that this is really proof that unconditional love is being weaponized. It is being deliberately withheld. It is part of the patriarchal system where we are taught and trained, right, from birth to jump for that apple, whether it be Disney or it be the Catholic Church or it be, whatever. You have to get married or you have to have kids. You have to, find a partner. And those partners are really doing nothing for our health and well-being and life satisfaction, right? So as we jump for that apple, we're realizing that it's being used as a weapon against us. And that's really eye-opening and sad to see, while at the same time, men are saying they're the ones who aren't receiving any unconditional love. Okay, so it's bananas. This is very, very backward where we are on this topic right now. So research shows that parts of the brain that are activated by unconditional love are similar to those that light up in response to maternal love. So the same parts of the brain, when we get unconditional love, say, oh, this is like being with my mom. Okay. Unconditional love.
That's kind of gross.
It is gross. Scientifically proven. Ick factor right there. All right. Now also, unconditional love acts as a reward system. This reminds me of playing video games or getting that text or hearing that ping on your phone, So unconditional love acts as a reward system, creating positive feelings. So people who get unconditional love get a rush from it. And I think this causes more people to weaponize it, because you can be detached, breadcrumb, reduce the amount of love, attention, and affection you give someone to get them to chase you and give more unconditional love. And it works, okay, as a rush of positive feelings. So women, essentially, research shows, are no longer wanting to be involved and be everyone's mom. And I'm not saying this is just romantically. This isn't just women to, your traditional heterosexual male. This is women in general are leaving and abandoning relationships where they are overreaching. They are over caretaking. They are everyone's mom. So we see this especially, though, in marriage. 70%. This is the most recent study I could find. 70% of divorce is initiated by the wife. She suggests that this is due to his laziness, her exhaustion, his lack of growth, his lack of taking responsibility, his attitude of entitlement, her being absolutely overwhelmed to the point of exhaustion, mental illness, and physical disease, and her feeling unloved and unappreciated. That's really sad. In addition, 50% of divorced wives never remarry, okay? Will never consider it ever again, whereas only 30% of men express the same sentiment. We also know that a really high percentage of men deteriorate and die within 2 years after being widowed, whereas women who are widowed get healthier and better and live very, very long lives. So in a nutshell, women are demanding that they get paid for all of their labor, one way or another. Okay, you got to pay me for this. On the note of, men in this case, we see that men are going through a loneliness epidemic. So they say men are reaching an all-time high of depression, anxiety, suicide like never, ever before. So as women are pulling out and extracting, and they're no longer chasing for that apple or overreaching, men are deteriorating.
Oh, I have a story for that. This just kills me. So a friend of mine was on a team, and one of the team members was talking to a bunch of women and got caught. So then all of a sudden, gonna harm themselves.
Okay. Yeah,
so right. And I just think that we definitely have to start doing therapy in as babies. Because I'm like, what is happening? What is going on in this world? I really feel sorry for young people today.
Yeah, when your temper tantrums, I'm going to kill myself because I'm not getting my way. I mean, we got a problem.
I mean, like that is like
Or I'm going to threaten. I'm going to threaten that I'm going to kill myself.
But because I made the mistake.
Right. Right. And you're the one to blame.
This is not the first time I've heard this too.
That's right.
This is something that occurs all the time.
And it's really, really common. Again, my clients, a huge portion of the readings that I do in psychic mediumship are relationship readings. So much so that I started offering it as a separate product. You can book, instead of just getting a psychic mediumship reading with me, you can book an actual, right? Just straight up love or relationship reading to deal with issues like this. And it's amazing how many of my clients have been staying or are asking if they should stay because the man they're with is threatening he's going to kill himself, or he's going to do something terrible to the whole family or take others down with him. I mean, it's also violent. That's very violent.
Yeah, it's definitely manipulation. And anytime somebody gets like complacent too, like, or gets like, too comfortable, like, to me, that's a sign that you need to move on. If you are to the point where you think you're going to abuse the person, like, that's a little red flag. Like, you gotta, like, that means our time is up. Like, it's time to move on with our lives. At least that has been true for me in romantic relationships. And possibly if like love, like between mother and child too, can also be very, very unhealthy, because like how many, children are, I don't know, sitting in the basement playing video games, and their mother's just bringing them everything, and they're just expectant of that. And then the wife just replaces the mother, so that it is a very slippery slope to go from unconditional love to like a codependency and entitlement. So we have to teach kids early. They have to also contribute to relationships, even if it's a parental relationship.
Yeah. Amen. And I would say too, on the note of you saying this is maybe when it's time to go, don't let it get so bad and out of control down the road. Whether
the more abuse and more violence come in.
Mm-hmm. And I think that you can look at your love partners. You can look at, again, friends and family, and, relationships you should be involved in are with people who are taking care of themselves. When we see self-love deteriorate, when we see a lack of unconditional love, for ourselves, I think of exes where maybe their hygiene started to slip and they were eating garbage, or they went back to smoking, or they started doing things. And I'm like, this relationship is done, not because I don't love you, but because you don't love you, and I'm out. Mm-hmm. You think I'm going to stay and be your mom through this, and your coach and your therapist? I'm done. I'm out of here. Yeah.
Right. And that's not saying that you wouldn't be there with somebody who was having a hard time. You know what I mean? It's like when they have their choice repeatedly. Yeah, when they have decided that, they are just going to be that abusive person, or be not emotionally available, or and this is not, we're not talking like you're in a relationship and you're there for the partner, but still that person, it's still a back and forth. You can't just throw everything at one person and expect them to deal with everything.
Yeah, know when to leave the party.
Yes. And I also think too, you were talking about you were talking about people who have grown up with unconditional love, and I really think that those people need to focus, like they need to turn their eyes to self-love, and really build self-love, because if you don't have an unconditional love behind you, you probably don't have self-love. So you really have to sort of build it from the ground up if you want a solid foundation. Because, a lot of the kids that I see, they're so used to going from house to house, or they're used to life is just different every day for them. Right. And I think if you start building your self-esteem based on something you're good at, and I don't care what it is, but you just start building small on that, I really think that is the key, because you can't force somebody to love you, but you can fall in love with yourself. You know what I mean? And be there for yourself. And it sucks that some people don't have unconditional love. I'm one of those people that I want to love everybody, but it's not reality. And I actually went to a conference the other day for school, and I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Antoine Fisher, but it's a really good movie. Denzel Washington plays in it. And it's a true story about a kid who was left in an orphanage as an infant. And he you know, like they thought his mother was going to come get him. She never did. And he just went through a series of foster families, and they were abusive. They were terrible to him. And, you know, he ended up like joining the armed forces, and he met somebody, but he went to go, he had a horrible foundation. Not one person was unconditional love for him, but he did build himself a little bit through the army. And then when finally he went to go, I think he needed something, a piece of paper or something. And he actually ended up finding out who his mom was because somebody knew somebody who knew somebody. So he went there to go confront her, you know, and just like say, hello, I'm Antoine and all this stuff. But he said at one point, he asked her, because he said he thought maybe she had mental issues, or he thought maybe she was a drug addict, or, you know what I mean? And it wasn't any of that. He said to her, you know, why didn't you come get me? And she said, to be honest, I didn't want you. Yeah. And she wasn't being malice. She really wasn't, but it was the truth. And I really, no, granted, she didn't go about it the right way or whatever, but at least she spoke the truth. And he said what he learned from that. And he didn't even really feel bad about it. Like he just said, well, at least she told me. And he said that you have to realize nobody owes you anything. That's right. No one. Mm-hmm. You owe it to yourself to help yourself, but nobody owes you anything. And it's a harsh truth, right? Because we think, well, my mother's supposed to love me and my father's supposed to love me. But to be honest,
no guarantee.
There's no guarantee, and they don't have to. They don't have to. No. But if you want to survive, you're going to have to cultivate self-love, and that's going to have to be based on, you know, how you feel about yourself. And I will say this, as a child growing up, I wasn't always told very positive things about myself. So that's tough too. You know, you almost have to start from nothing. And that's why I think therapy is so important for people, especially younger kids.
Yeah, I love that you said that we aren't guaranteed love from our parents. It's not owed, right? It's not due us. It's what would be best. It's what we think we should have, especially when we're surrounded by other people who did receive it. But we come to the world alone, and we are responsible for loving ourselves. And it's a lot lighter when you just cut that cord and you stop putting this idea of unconditional love up on a pedestal, and you realize you have plenty to give, you are deserving, and no matter what happens in your relationships, you're going to give that love to yourself unconditionally.
And I think if you really love a person, you wouldn't treat them badly. Like if you want unconditional love, you would be contributing. You know what I mean? Like you would be reciprocating, but otherwise it's something else. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not healthy.
And that's back to codependency and wanting your mommy, you know, 100%. So when we look at, so we're going to, again, I just want to remind you guys to drop your comments. We are taking all comments and questions today. We take questions at every service. So go ahead and post them now. Also post your prayer and healing requests if you have not already done so. So let's get back to where men are with this. And I'm wrapping up here in a second. And Christina, I'm turning the mic over to you. So again, men are going through a loneliness epidemic like never before, reaching an all-time high in regards to suicide rates, anxiety, depression, things like this. And I think it's really unfortunate that the general response to this by professionals has been to try to pressure us women into getting with them, not into men for resolving these issues or going to therapy or working on themselves, but rather all of these terrible statistics being pushed upon women saying this is what's going to happen to men. They're going to vote in really restrictive, tyrannical ways. They're going to crush humanitarian efforts. They want to take everyone's rights away. These men are more prone to homicide. They become extremely mentally ill and violent and da 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 da. Okay. I'm not marrying that. This is the enticing. This is the apple nowadays. It's ladies, if you don't go back on your boundaries and you don't just start getting with these men and become their mommy and their therapist and give unconditional love and correct everything, they're going nuts. They're going to hurt everyone. They're going to destroy democracy. They're going to do, I mean, these are literally, this is what the research shows has always happened in history and is happening now and will be getting worse. Okay. So hard pass. And it's, I think, not going to improve, obviously, until people start holding themselves accountable for the healing that they need. So this is very extreme. You know, I also disagree with some research that I saw here saying that young adults struggle. So for those of you who are tuning in, I know I have a big TikTok following that tends to be a little bit more in that Gen Z age range, or like younger millennials, but the research says that young adults are suffering the most with the lack of unconditional love, or we could say in this case, that transition for most people. Where you're going from having parents or family who gave you unconditional love into adulthood where it's transactional. You have to earn it in all of your relationships, friendships, lovers, otherwise you have to earn it. You have to earn it, maintain it. However, I would say that based on my client base and my students and people I know, I see just as many issues with it, if not more, with older adults. Okay, so it's sort of like as we go up, you know, we're going to like the elder millennials, okay, into Gen X, into the boomers. I see the problem getting greater, not lesser. So,
like how so?
Just that I see Gen Z and millennials, younger millennials, as being more analytical about this entire topic. Being more willing to say, no, I have healthy boundaries. I am restricting who has access to me. I am paying attention to reciprocity. And the older people being oblivious to it entirely, or they don't realize how many of their sort of underlying triggers are connected to this type of thing because the patriarchy and capitalism and programming has had such a stronghold on them their entire lives and every generation before them. I feel like the younger people are breaking through. But again, that's not what the research says. So I wonder why so much of this research is directly opposing to what I see every day. And if this is a little twisted to uphold the patriarchy.
Yeah, I think like, I don't know, like if you ask an older gentleman or like, I don't know, older, you know, for somebody from an older generation, what should a woman be like? And like, that's a loaded question, right? But like most of them would say like soft, loving, motherly. You know, these are the only adjectives that are acceptable. You know, if you're strong, you're a bitch. You know what I mean? Like if you're anything else, then you know what I mean? Like you have to be sexy too, because you have to be all that and sexy. So we're not on a level playing field. Right from the beginning. So I don't know, the more that we break out of that mold, that is very uncomfortable, you know, for men and their power, because we get more on this level playing field. Now all of a sudden, you know, we can bring what they already brought. So now it's like, wait a minute, you're just here to love me. No questions asked. What happened?
Right. On that note, Christina, I'm turning the mic over to you. What did you want to say on this topic today? We do have a comment here real quick. I just want to take, Sarah Lee says, which definitely upholds the patriarchy. Okay. Thank you for backing that, Sarah. I know I'm just trying to put all this into perspective, like, you know, and thank you for the feedback. 100%. How could it not? Interesting, isn't it? Okay.
I think one last thing I wanted to say. I think a lot of this just stems from lack of empathy. Do we teach Do we teach our boys empathy? If you do, if you're a mother of a boy and you teach empathy, congratulations. Like, you're doing a great job. Because, women are so empathetic, not all women, obviously, but, many of us are very, very empathetic, and then we don't receive that from our partners. And I can't speak to same-sex couples, but I can speak to heterosexual couples. If you just think of the other person or how the other person might feel, like, it would eliminate so much, even friendships. You know what I mean? Like, how are they going to feel? Empathy they say empathy can't be taught, but I really do think it starts early, showing them examples of being empathetic to other people. And I think that we can avoid a lot of craziness when we show kids empathy.
Yep. Let them have the dolls, let them have the babies, let them, experience what it is to be human. I would also say that there are a lot of different cultural groups, and obviously we only have 1 hour on, our sermons here. We try to stay within the bounds, and this could definitely be a part 2, if not a part 3, but, we have to take into consideration too that heavy, heavy, heavy influence from being in maybe raised up in different cultures where you are expected, especially as a female, but to give to that family and to be, essentially abused. I think a lot of people are waking up to the way they've been raised and how those toxic cultures are looking more like cults.
Yeah. And like, we got to get rid of the negative. We got to get rid of that, like Pluto going into Aquarius, and we'll talk more about that in our New Year's show. That's going to change a lot of stuff. It's going to upset a lot of people.
Fun. I look forward to it. Okay. We did have a question popped up. Jill, if you could put it back up there. It was a comment. I think it was from Yolanda Fisher. So she says, I think that society has allowed the media to define what healthy is. And that definition is unrealistic. So many are struggling because of it. Kind of like how the media has defined body images. I love that comment so much.
Yeah. And just because you see it on TikTok doesn't mean it's healthy. You know what I mean? Or just because, people are saying it's healthy, it's not. And I agree with that about the media. That's a big, that could be a whole show.
Yeah. And it definitely will be coming up because we're going to start getting into forgiveness on the next show. But, these things are not only, weaponized, like weight, body build, all kinds of things. But also whenever they want to market something, they even talked about, you could look at research with the Kardashians, and based on what was going on, I think we've talked about this astrologically, based on what people wanted to buy and consume at the time, the Kardashians looked that way. Then as we transitioned into other planetary, shifts, and people wanted something else, they all got plastic surgery, and now they look this way. I mean, it's a perfect example. Of everything being manipulated to show you what's healthy or what's desirable or what's attractive. And it's not at all based on truth.
Right. And it's to make you spend money and feel bad about yourself, so you'll spend more money.
And we uphold those systems.
And we all contribute.
Yep, 100%. So we are going to move on to questions at this time, and then we'll do closing statements. I saw some questions here in the feed. Jill, what do we have? Okay, so we have I don't want to touch anything. Is this Brittany asking, okay, how do we deal with the grief? Okay, that comes with that. So Jill, I don't know if you popped that up or I did, but that's the first one I want to get to here. So thank you. So how do you deal with the grief of understanding you're not going to be receiving that type of unconditional love? I think that understanding, I can hear the cat playing with the cat toy behind me here. Understanding that it's a normal part of the maturity process helps a lot, that it's not something to be alarmed by, even though it may feel that way, that it's an opportunity for you to say, well, I'm becoming more of an elder. How can you give unconditional love to people? Not in a weird crossing boundaries or accepting abusive type of a way, but how can we be more loving? Whether we look at our homeless population, or we look at the genocide currently going on in Palestine, or we look at, I don't know, just people who need so much support and care and time and affection and love. I mean, to look around you and see the tremendous need, get more involved with activism, volunteer, see how you can become more of a healer in your life. I think one of the ways I personally have dealt with never receiving unconditional love, having to work for every single little thing, and never getting it back. I mean, I don't feel like I've ever gotten it back out of a love partnership. You know, it's just a crapshoot sometimes. I think one of the ways I have dealt with that is to make sure that I'm not always focused on what can I get? What can I get? Am I sad about this? How do I feel? Where are my emotions? But rather, how would I like to contribute to making sure someone else's needs are being met? Or I can uplift humanity or raise the vibration as a whole by being a giver in a productive way. And so start shifting your focus. Christina?
Definitely shifting the mindset. Gratitude journal. I know it sounds corny, but just writing down 3 things that you're grateful for when you get up in the morning, or just typing in your phone or whatever. Therapy tools. I was always hesitant to go to therapy, but I did appreciate the couple times that I did go. I did really appreciate, if you have a good therapist, the tools that they provide you. And working on yourself. Just never stop working on yourself. You're a work in progress. You can't give up on yourself. You have to realize your dreams. And a big part of getting through for me is my faith too, because, I know there's another side. I know there's a reason. I've learned astrology, so I know that this isn't going to last forever, and that things will get better. And, and I have a mission. I have things I'm supposed to do in this life. I got to achieve them. I guess like bringing it back to how you can contribute to society through your life contract, and becoming aware of that life contract so that you can be the best self that you can be. And don't forget, your struggle is your strength. But mourn that, but don't mourn it for too long.
Yeah, I would also say that transactional love is not a bad thing. I would change your perspective on it. Like, yes, maybe you want to be the kind of person who brings more unconditional love into the world. Bring it back. Bring it back. That's awesome. Maybe that is part of your life contract. Maybe that is part of your astrology chart, your calling, your destiny. Maybe it is. Maybe, though, too, you want to look at transactional love, and we need to stop labeling it as being such a problem. I don't have a problem with it. Again, because I never got unconditional love, I didn't know anything else. I had to earn everything. So if I wanted to be liked, I had to be a good listener. I had to be a strong communicator. I had to present myself as someone who was like, entertaining or raising the vibe instead of dragging it down. When I go to apply for a job, I need to prove that I'm going to be super efficient, that I'm a quick learner, that I'm paying attention, that I'm going to contribute something to the team. When I get into a love partnership, I want to make sure that that person feels supported and that they can trust me, so that they don't ever have to waste their energy chasing me around trying to figure out what I'm up to. I want to make sure that they're feeling fulfilled in the relationship, and excited about what we can build together. I've worked really hard on being able to contribute to any type of relationship, and I don't mind working with adults in a transactional way, because I know what I bring to the table and I know what I expect back from them. And I also know when to walk away. So I think once you get, your boundaries set in those areas and you truly understand your value, you don't feel so bad about transactional love. You look at unconditional love and you're like, whatever. I mean, what am I even going to do with that? So you can hire somebody for anything too. I mean, it's not that complicated.
Robots.
Yeah, robots are on the way. Okay, like it's not that bad. All right. Do we have any other questions or comments coming in here, Jill, or do we want to move on to our closing statements? Okay, I don't see anything else getting popped up. So, in conclusion, Christina, you want to go first or second?
Yeah, I think I should just piggyback off of you saying transactional love is not a bad thing. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's like, you're either both contributing or you're not. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, and like like relationships are never 50-50 or 100-100. You always have to give a little more, give a little less. But if that is there, then that is a very healthy thing. It's just when one person's doing it and then the other person's not taking accountability, that's when transactional love, like you separate. But I think that we do need to I love that the young people are changing the world. I am a young person at heart, so I appreciate, that they are recognizing these things, and maybe they don't know exactly how to change them yet, but they know that it's not right, and they know that it needs to be changed, and I love it, and I'm walking right with them.
Well, and that's basically what I was going to say. So on a last note, we need to redefine what we want and what we deserve, and we need to stick to that. I think that through this redefinition, we're going to redefine what love actually is, because it's so polluted and it has been weaponized.
I think
so much so to uphold the patriarchy that I think once that starts and continues, let's say continues to burn down, we're going to find our way.
Yeah. I just think that, we live many lives now. We used to only live till we were like 30, or 4, we didn't live that long. So now we are living many lives in our one life. We get more than one career. Usually we get more than one partner. It's just the world is changing and we have to change with it. It's a learning process. But I'm on board.
Amen. We are going to, for our next Roots Revival Interfaith sermon here in a few weeks, we're going to be talking about forgiveness, how you can forgive yourself and why we struggle with that so much, how hard we are on ourselves and how hard we are on each other, how critical, and how I think it's actually directly connected to this. So, I will see you guys back for that. But in the meantime, tune back in. Reverend Christina Del Rey, our astrologer here, and I will be doing our What to Expect annual show, What to Expect in 2024. This is going to be on December 28th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, back here on all platforms. We'll be breaking down each zodiac sign, and this is the first time we'll ever be taking your questions. Okay, so tune in for that. If you want to book a chart with Christina, her information is up here on the screen on YouTube. You can go to her email at cpekirski88@gmail.com. You can also contact her through Astrology Chick 2 on Instagram. And for me, for classes or to book a reading or a party, Ivy Rivera, psychicmedium.com. Thank you so much, Jill. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Christina, for being here. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in with us here at Roots Revival. We'll see you soon.